What up, guys? Welcome to the New American Dream Podcast. I'm your host, George Gibson. All right, I ain't did that in a while, so I was excited. But yes, today we have an awesome show. It's a different show. We have people coming all the way from Canada. I think this is my first guest from Canada. But before we get into the show, recently, I've been taking a little hiatus. I've been taking a break from the podcast, but one thing I definitely I did a lot of traveling. We went up to the mountains last week. We traveled back over to North Carolina, but it was refreshing. And that's one of the things we talked about in the podcast is when you're every day working, you have to give your chance an opportunity to relax, decompress, because everybody know, like, this year has been a crazy year. So you constantly worry, like, we gotta wear a mask every day, we gotta wash your hand 40 times a day. So it's like it can eventually just burn you out. And that's what I basically did. I took a hiatus for about last week. I did, absolutely barely any work. I tried not to do any work, but still had to get some things done. But that's what I'm talking about. You gotta take a break. And if you're going hard, because now you come back, you see it. I got a haircut, but you see, you just get refreshed, and it brings something out of you. So anybody, and the other thing about this is a different podcast. They're working on new construction building, and I really like it because they're going at their own pace. And oftentimes, like me, I started out buying, purchasing rental properties, and I'm good at analyzing rental properties, so it's great for me. But I also see my guys over here to the left and right, they're doing flips. I'm like, I don't want to do a flip. And the thing about it is, a lot of times when you're doing something and you're doing it right, I'm buying rentals, but it get boring doing the same thing. But you're successful. Trust me, you rather be successful and boring than, like, when I got into the flips, I realized things I don't like and things I do like. I like, putting a for sale sign out, but I don't really like managing the contractors. So they have their own system, and they really stick to the script. They don't really worry about what Joe Blow doing. They got their own plan going, and it's a great episode. They're building brand new rental properties. Imagine that. No maintenance for over 5 to 7 years, they say, after the first 3 months. So welcome to the show. We have Natalie. So welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, all right. Give the people a little background of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Natalie. I'm from Canada, from the National Capital Region, so Ottawa. And my husband and I, basically, we build from the ground up with $0 down. And that's our main strategy. We've done a couple BRRRs, but our main focus is new builds. And we are now 28 years old. We've acquired a total of 16 units so far. But we sold a couple to recycle capital. Now we're right in the middle of building 2 fourplexes.
Wow. You said you're building with zero money down. You finna have to write a book. You have so many questions. But
write a book, actually. I'm trying to, but I don't have the time.
Just that title alone, building a house with zero money down. Because people are already saying they're buying property with zero money down, but building new construction sound wild to me.
Yeah, well, it kind of is. It's just, what happens with new builds is that you really need to be in the right market for it, because the values need to be higher than your cost to build.
Correct.
So if you live in a market where properties are selling for like 100K, chances are you can't build that same property for 100K now, especially with all the construction materials going up and everything. So you have to find that sweet spot market, and luckily we've been in that market for a while, and it keeps growing, values keep going up. So it's been working really well for us.
Right. Yeah. So I think you may be the first guest from Canada. I had a lot of people from California where they complaining about the prices, but it got to be a lot cheaper to build in California than the price is, you would think, right?
I have no idea. Yeah, I don't really know the California market.
Yeah, well, they just claim everything's so expensive. So,
yeah.
All right, did you grow up in Canada?
Yes, born and raised in Ontario.
Okay. So, all right, give the people, like, were your parents entrepreneurs? What did they do? How did you get into this?
My family, I come from a long line of builders or developers. But you know what? Like I never really learned a lot from them. My grandfather was a developer, and at some point, I think he actually like his business went under, and so I don't really know the whole story with that. I was pretty young. He was already retired actually when I was born, so I don't know the story. I know my uncle tried to dabble in it too. Nothing really panned out, but my parents built 4 houses with the method that we're doing. 4 houses in 4 years, I think it was, before they had us. Then when they had my sister, my older sister, that's when they settled down and they stopped. And I also studied in architecture, so that's kind of where the background comes from, but mostly it comes from my parents. My parents were always kind of entrepreneurs. My mother had a daycare center for all of 20 years while I was, so that she could stay home with us. And my dad he worked as an estimator for a while, and then he worked as a contractor. He did renovations and properties and stuff. So they were always entrepreneurs, and I guess it's kind of where I get it.
Right. So when you say y'all, they built 4 houses, were you guys like moving in them, or were they just build them and sell them and rent them?
They built, lived in it, and then sold. I think they did that, like built. I don't think they lived in them very long, no less than a year, because they built 4 in 4 years.
Right.
I don't really know all the details, but they never rented anything. They always sold and then rebuilt.
Okay. All right. So, all right, growing up in high school, what was your favorite subject? Math?
Oh God, no, I sucked at math. My average grade was about a C. Okay, like I really wasn't good. Math and physics were my worst subjects, but
Right.
I always knew that I wanted to study architecture. So my teachers and everybody were telling me, well, math and physics is what you need to go into architecture. So how are you going to succeed? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to have to wing it because that's what I want to do. It's just not the subjects I'm good at.
Right.
So no, I wasn't very good in school.
So what would you say your GPA was?
Oh God, GPA, I would say probably 3.2. Is that?
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if you listen to Dave Ramsey, he always do like the Millionaire Theme Hour, and he kind of got a collection of data, like what millionaire's GPA was, did they get a college degree? So I just always ask to see, because most millionaires fall in for some reason around that 2.5 to 3.5 range. Like,
really?
Yeah.
I guess it's just a different way of thinking. We're not textbook kind of people.
Yeah, because I always been like a C, B minus type student, but I think because they didn't have real estate as a subject, it was like
exactly. It's
learning about stuff you don't really care for as much.
I'm not good at reading something and then like testing on it. I don't comprehend stuff like that. I have to work with my hands. I have to basically fail in order to learn from it. Right.
All right.
I think that's.
No. So when did you learn that you realized you couldn't like read something and just take a test on it?
I think, well, definitely when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but because I don't know, maybe he just talks about that stuff in the book, like briefly. But I think it was in college. So like I never went to university or anything like that, but I was the first one in my family to go to college. So it was just a 3-year like technical hands-on program. And in the first year, it was more textbook and stuff, and I sucked. I think my GPA there is even lower than 3.2. And then when it became more hands-on, then my grades they started rising. So I think that's where I kind of figured out that okay, no good textbook, but give me the hands-on stuff and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think nowadays, because like millennials starting to take over the world, whether like people realize it or not. But I think they should maybe do some kind of testing in high school to figure out whether a person learned visually, listening, or reading. Because me, I got a college degree, but I didn't realize I did it because I got the same thing. I can't really read something and go take a test on it. That's why I would fail a lot of tests. But I started listening to podcasts and I could remember the information. And I was like, hold on, I learn better when I listen.
Okay.
So I listen to audiobooks instead of reading,
Yeah, and that's better for you. I'm more visual.
Okay.
So yeah, podcasts, like I try, but I always have to like go back like 30 seconds or a minute because I zoned out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people visual too, because that's why even I started putting on YouTube, because some people just can't listen. They want to see it.
Yeah, if I'm listening to a podcast, I gotta find the video on YouTube because or else I'm not gonna focus.
Wow, that's funny. But yeah. Okay. So after high school, what did you end up doing?
So I went to college. I studied architectural technology. So basically, it's a drafting course. You're not like an architect, but you're the technologist, or you're lower. It's just a 3-year class. And that's where I met my husband, Rob, and he was also studying the same thing.
Okay.
We went from there. Once we graduated, that's when we realized we kind of wanted to have a business together in this.
So when you guys first graduated, what was your like first job where you actually be like, okay, I'm making money now?
I got lucky. I got a good job as a custom home designer. So I would design custom homes for people, whether it was like a small 1,000 square foot bungalow to like my biggest house was a 13,000 square foot mansion. So
Wow.
so I had a lot of fun with that job. I worked there for 5 years, and my husband worked as an estimator. And that was like a low paying job. That was a stressful job for him. He did not like it, and he got out. He found another estimating job, but he was basically in estimation for a while in like residential construction.
Okay. So you work in this job. You said you loved your job, interior designing. Um, did you read Rich Dad Poor Dad? What was that moment? Do you work now still?
I do, but I switched jobs. Now I have, I got in with the government, so it's more of I can work, I've been working from home for like 3 years now, even pre-COVID. So I have more time, because the thing with my job is I liked it, but it was high stress. Like I had to meet clients after hours. It was 40 hours, sometimes 50 hours a week. And then when we were building on the side with that, it was too much. So I was able to get in at the government, which was like, 37.5 hours. You do your time, you log off, and I could still do other things. I could keep track of the business on the side. So it was helping us breathe a little bit.
Okay. So, all right. I was trying to see, what was that pivotal moment where you realized like you guys wanted to actually start your own business outside of your job? Did you have like a key moment, or was it just like predestined already?
We built our house. So let me give you a little rundown of what happened after college. Okay.
Okay.
So right after we graduated, we decided that we wanted to move in together. My husband was living in like a really rundown place with 3 other guys, and it was total crap. So he wanted to get out of there, and he comes from 8 hours from here. He wasn't heading back home, so he wanted to find a place with me. We were just gonna rent. We didn't really have any like financial knowledge or anything, so we were just gonna find a place to rent. And then, but my mom said, meet with the bank first to make sure that you can afford, like, what's your budget to rent. So we met with the bank, and they said, well, you know what, you could actually buy a place, because we didn't have any debt. Like, we paid our college from our pockets. We didn't have any student loans. We just worked part-time jobs during college, so everything was paid. And so they said, like, you could buy a house. We didn't have any money down though, but they did the whole like, for your first property, you can buy for less than 5% down or something like that. And like, they put it in as a line of credit. So anyway, so we bought a condo. We lived in it for 4 months before we realized like this was not for us. We are not condo people. And like my husband, he's really hands-on. So he's like, I need a garage, I need a yard. So we wanted to buy a house, and my parents were like, well, like we didn't have any money, literally no money, no debt though, but no money. And so that's when my parents kind of sat us down, and it's like they were giving me this family secret. They're like, okay, let me tell you about this loan that we did. And so they told us about this loan where you can build for, instead of putting down 20%, you can build with your sweat equity. You can replace your down payment with your labor work, basically. So we were able to build our house. Like, we did a lot of the work in ourselves so that we can save that 20%. And we built our house from the ground up. We lived in it for about a year. We designed it to have a basement apartment, because we didn't make a lot of money. Like, our salaries were pretty low. So we wanted to make sure that we could afford the mortgage. So my parents told us to design it with a basement apartment to help us with the expenses. So that's what we did. And then we got, after the basement was done, we got a HELOC for like $40K on the house. And then we realized, okay, like this is kind of a special sauce.
Wait.
Doing this.
All right. How did you get a HELOC when you just built it? It had equity already?
Yeah, because we built way below the value. So
Okay.
This was 6 years ago. I don't remember the exact numbers. I think the house was worth 380, and we built it for 308. And then we added the basement apartment. Anyways, I don't remember exactly how we did it, but we were able to secure a HELOC. Again, This is a while ago, and the banks were a little more lenient then than they are now. So we were able to secure a 40K HELOC, but this was a year after the construction was done.
Okay.
So I think, I had to wait a year. so we got the HELOC, and then we realized, okay, like we can do this. So we just started building.
Right.
And after our second investment build, so basically our third build, if you count our house, I was like ready to give up because we were working full time, right? And building on the side. So we had zero social life, and basically like sleeping was an option, and it was too much. So I was ready to give up. And my husband was like, okay, you know what? Like, let's take a little trip. Let's go down south, and let's, take some time to rewind. So we went down south, and during the trip, he kind of slipped me the book of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That's
he
funny.
Had got it, it had been recommended by a friend of him that he works with. So he read it really quickly, like on the plane. He finished it like within a day, and then he's like, "Here, babe." So I read it, and like at the beginning of the trip, I was talking like, I'm done after this one's built. Like I'm stopping. I'm done. And by the end of the trip, I was like, "Okay, let's do this." So that's kind of where the mindset. Yeah.
And that sometimes, like I just came back on vacation too, and it's kind of like if you work over too much, you need that reset button because like you get burned out. And I had felt it coming. And it's like now, like even to record this, I had to take a little break from doing them because it was just constant, you know?
Yeah, well, repetition is never really good. And I actually did like a slight burnout back in February of this year. And I had to just really take a step back from everything. I took time off my job, and I flew to my parents. My parents have a condo in Florida. I flew there for 5 days just to kind of, clear my head. And then when we came back, we figured, okay, this isn't working. We're working to the bone. We have to restructure, regroup, hire out more, and figure it out. So no, a vacation, like you need that. I'd say at least once every 6 months.
Exactly. That's what we try to do. We try to like, we just got back. So 6 months ahead, I need to start planning another trip.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think, between being an entrepreneur and 9 to 5. Like I tell a lot of my friends, like say you show up to work and the person forgot to order materials. Well, you still get paid. As an entrepreneur, it's like you start pulling out your hair, you know?
Yeah, you take accountability for every little thing. And so it's a lot more stressful. You don't really care when it's not your projects and your stuff. So no, it's definitely different. And you gotta calm down sometimes. We're working too many hours. We don't realize it.
Right. Okay. So, all right, you guys doing a lot. So all right, say somebody wanted to get started in real estate, right? What do you think? Have you did any flips or not yet, really?
I call it like flips as in build and sell or renovate and sell.
Yeah, build and sell, either one.
Yeah, so we've done, I call it long-term flipping, where we built a property, we rented it out for like a year or two, and then we sold them. So just this year and last year, we sold 4 properties.
Okay.
So we kept them from a couple of years, and then we sold them. The market kept going up, so.
All right. So I was just saying for the listeners, if you was doing like your first deal at the beginning, whether it's a renter or flip, what do you think the easiest way to do a first investment deal? What would you be looking for?
House hack, 100% house hack, because it's the easiest way to get traditional financing. So it's not too scary. Like finding private lenders and stuff is a little scarier, right? It's a little different. So I would say go for traditional financing if you can. And the easiest way to do that is by house hacking, because the banks are more lenient when it's your own home than when it's a secondary residence. So if you can somehow buy a house and either rent out the other rooms or do like we did and do a basement apartment or I don't know, an in-law suite or something, just to have that extra income to help you pay for your bills, and then that way you can wait a year, refinance, get a HELOC like we did, and start again. I always say that's the best way for anyone to start.
Definitely, man. That is like that should be the number one answer. But a lot of people are always asking me, what about foreclosures? What about foreclosures? I'm like, look for a house hack. Buy you a fourplex, and live in one unit or a duplex, whatever you can, but house hack. So I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Okay. So for the listeners, I know it's a long time ago, but what is a number that makes sense for a house hack when you're doing that new construction? Like, I know where I'm at. If I say like I buy a house for $200,000 and the payment is $1,400 a month, but I got a basement that rents out for $800 a month. What kind of numbers were you guys looking at back then?
Well, back then we didn't really know what we were doing. We were just kind of winging it. We didn't really have like a minimum threshold or anything like that. But I think that really depends on your market. It depends on a bunch of stuff. I don't know if I can give you actual numbers,
Right.
but like for us, if it was me who was shopping for a deal again today, knowing what I know and the market how it is, like we make sure that all of our doors cash flow a minimum of $300 a month. Now that's us, right? That's our secondary residences. For like a house hack, I think that's a very personal thing. It
Right.
depends if you're looking to cover all of your mortgage expenses, including your utilities. For us, we were able to cover, I think our mortgage was like $1,500 a month. And I think like with utilities and everything, I think it came down for a payment of like $600 a month because
The
our
basement.
yeah, the basement unit was like $1,200. So
Okay. Yeah,
depends.
I would. Yeah, it definitely depends because in California, if you get away with just paying $1,000 a month for mortgage because you got a space to rent out, that's probably amazing. But
Yeah,
I'm in Florida, you can do a house hack and cash flow $500 sometimes, you know. So
yeah,
yeah, it depends on this person. Okay.
yeah.
Um, Ari, what is your like main thing now? You say you're building a 2 4plexes?
Yeah, right now we're building 2 4plexes. It's our, we built only 1 4plex last year. And now this year we're building the exact same model in another town. And we're building a new model in other town.
Okay. And I'm taking it now you have built a relationship with a contractor that you're using the same one?
No, we still do everything ourselves. Well, not everything ourselves, but like this 4plex that we're doing now is the first project that we're actually hiring out more sub trades. So we've always acted as a general contractor. My husband's always been the project manager. He's done like a whole bunch of the work himself. And then I go and help when my work is done in the day. I go like after hours or on weekends. But then when I did like my burnout in February, that's when we realized that wasn't going to help our business in the long term, and we have to stop doing that.
Right.
So like my husband does everything from, well, he used to do everything from electricity, installation, drywall, all the finishes, all the flooring, all the kitchen installations, and basically everything in between, like, and manage the whole thing. So, that's the thing though, that's not sustainable, right? You can't do everything yourself, especially when you start getting more units and more tenants to manage. It becomes to be too much. So we're regrouping right now.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So do you have to be licensed to build a house or you like self-contracting? What is it?
No, so when you build for yourself, like when you build for your own properties, you don't have to do any of that stuff. If you're building to sell, however, then you need what they call Terion here, which is basically like a home insurance program that is it's essential to every general contractor in the province,
Right.
and then that holds you accountable for the house for like 7 years after. And we want nothing to do with that because I heard a whole bunch of contractors basically losing their shirt with that insurance program. So I don't like we didn't want to go that route. So it's
Right.
why it forced us to keep our properties long term and not be in the selling business just because of that warranty program.
Okay.
And we had a lot of benefits when you're building for yourself. There's a lot of benefits, like you can pull out your own electrical permits and do your own electricity. I could do my own drawings and not need a stamp from like an architect or an engineer. I could just do everything myself. So we saved a lot of money that way. Now, though, we're building under a corporation. We're incorporating, so it's a little different.
Right.
But since we're still keeping the properties inside the corporation, we still don't need that general contracting license.
Okay. So, all right, a person, they out here and they're thinking about buying a rental property, building a rental property. How do they go about the land? Do they incorporate that in the loan, or how would you go with that?
Well, it depends because it depends on a lot of things. Like if you're going to the traditional, so like we use a local credit union, and they have the absolute best types of construction loans. Trust me, like we've shopped at traditional banks and stuff, and it's not comparable at all.
Right.
So what they usually do is if you find a lot, you can go see them and say, okay, I want to build and whatever, and then they'll lend you for the lot, and they'll incorporate it into your construction loan like at the end of everything. Like it's a bit complicated to explain how the loan works. I have
Right.
a blog post about it if people want to see though, but
Okay.
yeah, or you can also buy cash, and then that's even better. It's even better to get approved for traditional financing if you paid it cash.
Right.
Some people inherit land from friends or from family, I mean. So it depends, but you can definitely integrate it in your construction loan.
Okay. Wow. So, all right, this is a little bit off real estate, but is there anybody that you basically see in your personal life that you like, I want to be like them? They got a good balance on work and life, where basically it can give you an idea of where you're trying to get to, or you kind of just like don't know nobody.
No, not really. I mean, we have a lot of friends, connections that we've met, people that would say, okay, they're doing really well. And like but a lot of people are at our same level right now. So we're like helping each other grow. But I don't think there's anyone specific that I can think of that we kind of try to do our own thing. We don't try to compare ourselves to others, because comparing to others, like if you're looking on Instagram, you're looking at all these big investors. Sometimes it can be like you feel like you're not doing enough. And then you
Exactly.
just end up putting more pressure on yourself. And if there's one thing that we've always believed is to not scale too quickly, because you have to have the time to learn your lessons and learn from your mistakes and grow the right way. And it's actually one thing that our lawyer always told us too. And I know I'm getting off topic, but I
No.
just wanted to throw that out there. My lawyer always told us, there's two things that can kill a business. It's either lack of income or scaling too quickly. If you scale too quickly, sometimes you can lose control and you can't manage your business so well. So we try to just like, close the
The
blinds and
blindfolds. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Just do our own thing and not compare. So we don't really have anyone that we necessarily look up to. We're just doing our own thing.
Okay. And in the business, in y'all real estate business, what do you think your biggest strength is to the business?
Myself,
Yes.
for me, it's definitely managing the tenants. I've gotten very good at that, at managing rental property, like managing the tenants themselves, but I don't like it. I definitely want to hand that off.
I was just about to hand you mine. So you like it.
Nope, I don't like it. It's not like I've learned everything I've got to learn. I feel like I'm really good at it now, but like I want to do the next thing. So I'm ready to hand that off when the cash flow gets to that goal. Um, but office work basically is my thing. I've done the whole on-site physical work with Rob, and I hate it. I hate it now. I don't want anything to do with it. So I try to keep that to him, and we're hiring sub trades, and I'm just focusing on the day-to-day office work, basically.
Right. It's so funny because I think most husbands that do real estate try to like make the wife do the tenant stuff because nobody really. I
Yeah,
just it's just weird, Like I'll be ready to move on to the next project, next deal, and it's like you want me to fix a toilet, you know?
yeah, it can be a pain, and that's the thing. Like I read Brandon Turner's book on the managing rental properties, the
Right.
Yellow book. If
Yes.
you read that, helps me so much. Like that changed everything for me. I got like so many processes down like that. I learned all the local laws, and I really really made it my own to make sure that I could nail this, and that I got, because it used to scare me. So I was like, okay, if it's scaring me, it's because I need to learn the business. So I learned that I managed a couple of other rentals for friends and families. And yeah, but now like I'm over it.
Yeah.
Ready for the next thing.
What what do you think your like evidently you guys are into real estate, but if it was a secret between you and the universe, what do you think your overall purpose or something that you're the best at, and rather than all your peers, like everybody come to you for it?
For me, it's designing of layouts. Like I like what I do, right? Designing floor plans and stuff.
Right.
That's my thing. Ever since I was young, basically, ever since I could hold a pencil, I've been drawing like squares with triangles on top and making houses, and then doing like the rooms. Like I was always drawing my sister's room, my room, and so that's been in me forever. And I always have people coming to me and asking me to do floor plans, but I have to turn them down because I don't have the time. But I absolutely love it. If I had the time, that's what I would do all the time.
Wow. And you can't, that's something you can't just hire out, can it?
No, like, well, we could hire out an architect to do that stuff, but that's expensive. And every time I look at another person's design, I'm always thinking, well, I wouldn't have done that. I would have changed this. I would have changed this. And I love taking a small space and trying to figure out like as much as I can into that space, like as many rooms, and maximizing the layout. I love doing that, but I prefer doing it with like new layouts. I hate doing it when it's a renovation and I have to like work with the existing structure, and like there's an awkward beam in the way. It's still a challenge. It's fun, but I dislike it more.
Nah, yeah, I get it. because I just did a flip and we got in a contract selling it now, but I should have cut out a space in the wall where it'll open it up from the kitchen to the living room.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it'll look like much larger space because it's a
Right.
small house. So like you said, the goal is to make it look as big as possible without moving walls.
But it was probably a supporting wall or something. Is that why you couldn't do it?
No, I probably could have, but it's kind of like my first flip. All my properties are normally rentals. So this house, I ain't gonna say need a major rehab, but it was the most I ever did, you know?
Okay.
So I just,
right. You wanted to keep it minimal and
yeah, by the time I got to the end and the guy was like, you could, I'm like, listen, we're not taking nothing else apart.
Oh, exactly. I just want to see the numbers on this one and then we'll talk.
Yeah. Maybe next time at the beginning, but we're not
Exactly.
taking nothing apart. It's so crazy because you can't, the things that like you're doing and I'm doing, you can't really read it in a book. You have to really be hands-on and go through it and mess up, honestly.
Yeah, it's the only way to learn, really. I have a couple friends that they've been asking me questions and I told them, you know what, just buy a property, like do the renovations, figure it out on the fly. And I mean, it's real estate. It's very hard. Well, not that it's very hard, but it's more rare where, you're gonna lose everything on one small deal. If you're just doing like this little duplex that they're doing, you can lose money. But I mean, usually if you bought cheap enough and you can renovate conservatively, I mean, almost a done deal. You're going to make some kind of money. And even if you break even, you're going to learn so much from it. And the next one, you're going to make money for sure.
And especially if you're buying a house with a loan, it's so many things that's going to protect you. The inspection, the appraisal. So if you, especially use a first-time home buy loan, you're getting protected. If you messed up, it's like, I mean, time can fix it, but it can't be I don't think it'll be a major fix up when the bank is putting that money behind you.
No, exactly. I think what the scariest part is just to undertake the actual workload, right?
Oh.
And not knowing what you're doing. I don't think like losing money, yes, it's definitely a reality, but if you're careful with the numbers, the numbers don't lie. So if you can make the numbers work, it's just taking on that workload that's really scary for most people.
Right.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. What's your time frame on a new build from start to finish?
Depending on how many units it is. So like a single family home, we can usually knock it out within 3 months. And in like right now, last year's fourplex, it took us 9 months, but we were really tight on the budget. That's a whole other story, but we did a lot of the work ourselves, so it took us longer. But like this one, we're already, I'm thinking 5 or 6 months and we'll be done.
Wow. And is it like 4 flat or like 2 on top, 2 on bottom?
2 on top, 2 on the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah. So the way we build here, it's basically a semi-detached side by side, and then we do a secondary dwelling units, they call it. So that way we're able to find a smaller zoning. Like you could zone just R1 or RV1, I think it's called. You don't have to have a zoning that's like R4.
Right.
It's like a loophole in the zoning that we found and that a lot of people have found, and it's the easiest way to build a fourplex. Yeah. Okay.
And so, because the main thing, I believe, here in Florida, where I'm at least, like you said, a new build is right now is like $150 a square feet for a generic house. So if you was to build a house, like a 1,500 square foot house, I don't think it'll cash flow that $300 based off the cost,
Yeah, I mean, your value has to be there though, right? Because the way we do it is like, okay, let's say easy math. Let's say you bring the plans to an appraiser, and the appraiser says, okay, this house is going to be worth $100K when you're done building. So after the market value, then they'll say, okay, well, basically, if you can build it for 80% of that, so they're going to the bank is going to lend you 80%, right? Because you have to put 20% down or whatever. So it's up to you to build it for that amount. And then once you're done, if you can add like a basement unit and whatever, and then wait a year and refinance, chances are you're definitely going to be at a higher value, and then you can recuperate all of your money back, and it just didn't cost you a penny. I don't know if I explained that well. Again, though, if there are listeners that are interested, my blog is more clear.
Yeah. So we're going to definitely put the blog in the show notes so people can go find it out, because it sounds like that's a deep rabbit hole. We'll probably be gone.
That's the thing. When I'm talking out loud, like I get mixed up. I'm better if I'm writing.
Well, I'm taking it. That's how you're doing the no money down, right? When you go back and get your money back.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll like, if I can probably give you a better example, like a more concrete example, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like the fourplex we're doing now, or I'll give you the fourplex we did last year. It was valued at 780. We got a mortgage for, so we it cost us 525 to build.
Right.
It was valued at 780, and we got a mortgage for 565. So that's 72% loan to value. And we were still able to, so we basically covered all our costs at 525, and we pulled out a 40K salary for Rob.
Wow.
And we cash flow very nicely because we're only at 72% loan to value.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
So what is like, all right, you guys got your business going, and I see the goal is to be financial independent by 30.
Yep.
All right. So if you say you are financial independent, when do you think you will, what's the overall goal? Like when you're going to try to maybe take the foot off the gas and just like enjoy what everything you guys did?
Honestly, we're keeping that open. We ask ourselves that a lot. Sometimes we think, because we don't have kids yet, so we're thinking if we do have kids, we're going to take maybe a couple years off. But then other times we're just like so motivated. We have so many ideas of so many other projects we want to do. We want to do bigger multi sometimes, but now with COVID, we're kind of going to wait and see what's going to happen. So we might stick to we're going to stay to the small multis until, we know if we're going into a recession or not. So our goal right now is we're just aiming at financially independent by 30, which we should be able to be there at the end of our 2 current builds. So we'll probably be there before 30, unless again something happens in the world again and recession. I don't know, but we're pretty. We're not over leveraged or anything like that. We're pretty safe, so we're not too worried. But after that, we'll see.
Right.
I don't know. We'd like to be able to say we have 30 doors. So after these 2, we'll have 20. We'll see.
Yeah, because like I think the saying, like even me, I'm like, okay, when I get this many doors, we're good. When we get this many doors, it's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like,
yeah.
It's
one thing I want to point out that I always say to everyone is don't have a number of doors in mind. Have a number of cash flow in mind, and try to achieve it with as the less doors as possible. The least amount of doors as possible. So like our goal is to cash flow. Okay, I don't know. I'll just throw out a number. Let's say our goal is to cash flow $10,000 a month, but we're hoping to do it with like only 15 units. Like that's not
no.
It's not our thing. I'm just saying, so that way we have less to manage and we're cash flowing as much at our max. So that's the goal. I tell people, don't aim for the number of units, aim for the amount of cash flow.
Yeah, it sounds like
that way it avoids buying alligator properties, properties that don't cash flow well.
Yeah.
You're just buying a property because you want to buy a property, but make sure the numbers work.
Yeah, and it keep the stress level extremely low. Because I would take 10 properties paid off making $1,000 a month over 100 properties making $100 a month.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because
exactly. Yeah. So I always tell people that because people get, they get excited with the number of doors all the time. And I'm like, you know what? That's not important. People can have 50 doors and they can cash flow $300 a month. We don't know. So
yeah, it's that ego thing.
Yeah.
I oftentimes I said this before, but when we buy a house, and oftentimes like something happened, well maybe not, you got new construction, but the inspection come up and say they need to fix the plumbing, and the plumbing costs $4,000. A lot of times the buyer, if you say, hey, I'll purchase the house for $200,000, but give me $4,000 credit at closing costs. Well, in the public record, it still say the house sold for $200,000. And also, when Uncle Joe say, how much did you sell the house for, you can still say $200,000. It's like an ego thing,
Yeah.
even though you gave away $4,000, so you really did it,
Yeah, exactly. It's all about how it looks to people.
That's so crazy to me because I don't see 200,
Yeah.
But all right, what's a big a failure? And a failure is a opportunity to grow. But what's a failure that you had that now you look back and you like, that was a failure that made me smarter or stronger?
When we bought our first ever condo when we graduated, we learned that condos in our area anyway are definitely a bad investment. They do not appreciate, but the condo fees do. So we kept that property for 6 years, and we made, like, I think it appreciated, maybe we bought it for 180. 6 years later, we sold it for 205. So like it really didn't appreciate a lot. Like luckily we paid down our capital. We still made some money off of it, but I think like cash flow was like minus $200 a month. So like that was a failure, if you want to call it, where like, okay, like that wasn't a good property.
Right.
But we learned a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. So at the end, I think if you don't fail, that's the scary part, because you're not gonna know how to react when something gets tough.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's probably a lot of other examples I could give you too. It's a lot. It's just learning on the fly too, and being able to problem solve as quickly as possible. Like we've had really high stress moments in our investing careers. Just last year, it was really stressful with our first ever fourplex. But if you can adapt and just fix, and then like, just next, have that mentality that it's not a big deal, just deal with it and then move on to the next problem. It helps, don't freak out every time you've got something that pops up, which is hard to do. Like I'm the first one to freak out when something pops up, but I'm trying not to.
Yeah. See, I'm a realtor. So when I deal with customers that not investors, but people who are like buying a home for, forever home, or selling a forever home, they worry about the unknown. What would be your recommendation as far as like, you know the process of buying a house or selling a house? What do you recommend for people who like be trying to predict all this bad stuff that could happen,
Well, I think it's not bad to try to predict the bad stuff. I think it's good to try to mitigate risk in a way.
Right.
But you have to also think, okay, what's the chances of this actually happening? Like think of it rationally. Like I'm that way. I'll think of an opportunity and I'll think of all of the bad things that could happen. And I think the more experience you have the more you know of the little things that can happen.
Right.
Or that could happen. But you just have to know, that you can have with all of those things that you can think of, chances are you can find a solution to fix any of those problems. So don't underestimate yourself. So if I was a realtor and I had clients being worried about a bunch of stuff that could happen, I say, okay, well, is there any problem in that could be like a big deal where you couldn't fix it and it would be the end of the world for you? Chances are no. It's just like nothing is an emergency in this world, but chances are there's nothing that you can't fix.
Right.
Might cost you some money. But
Yeah. Yeah. That is when some people get to the point where they can fix everything pretty much with money. That's like crazy.
Yeah.
But what I would say, all right. So what does like a typical day look like for you as far as with your business? Like how much, first of all, how much time do you spend on your rental properties? Because if they're brand new, I'm expecting not to get no maintenance costs.
No, maintenance calls are really, really low for us. That's one of the reasons why we love doing new builds. We will get maintenance calls in the first like month of a brand new build, because like it's like a brand new restaurant, right? You're testing everything. You're testing the pipes, you're testing the mechanical systems. Everything's being really like pushed to the max that it's ever been. So sometimes it's mostly in the plumbing. There's something maybe leaking, or maybe we don't supply any appliances. So sometimes people, when they install their own dishwasher, then maybe something leaked, and then we just like, they ask for our help. So within the first month of a brand new build, we'll get called more often. But after that, I would say actually after the first year, it's pretty much smooth sailing up until like year 6 or something. After 5 years of property, we'll start getting a bit of wear and tear, normal wear and tear, where you got to go and fix and send people. But the first year, there's always like things are settling down. So like you'll get complaints from neighbors because it's a brand new property right beside their house, and before there was an empty field maybe, so they're not too happy with you. So sometimes they'll get complaints, but then like I give it a year and then everything settles down, the grass starts growing, and it gets better. So in terms of maintenance, no, it's pretty low.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that with even when I purchased a rental, like that first month, tenants move in. Like I remember one property I bought, the tenant was calling every few days about something, and I was getting frustrated. Like they might be over exaggerating, But
Yeah.
come to find out, their complaints were actually right, but it's basically a house we fixed up. So it's a lot of unknowns because if you don't live in it, it's kind of hard to tell if everything's working properly, you know?
Yeah, and there are some tenants too that they'll call you for the stupidest thing, like stuff that you're like, okay, well, you could fix that on your own. So to minimize those calls, we've done a lot. I've done a lot of processes where, okay, from now on, there's no, like, you can't call us unless of an emergency. And most of the time when it's an emergency is because you got to call 911. So like,
Wow.
so everything is done by email. That way, when people will think twice before sending an email. You know, is this really important? Can I do it myself? If I have to send an email, whereas sending a text or giving a call is sometimes just too easy or too automatic for most people. So I do everything by email, and I'm drawing a blank too, but so no phone calls, all by email.
And I was gonna say, like, what are it's like 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses of majority of your houses, or what is it?
Oh, it's a variety. We have like our smallest unit is a 1-bedroom plus den, whereas our
Right.
biggest unit is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay.
We have 2 bedrooms, 1 bath in there. We got a mix of stuff. We try to keep it mixed up so that we always have a variety.
Okay, and I'm taking it that these are like what, like the middle class neighborhood. What type of neighborhoods are you?
Yeah, I would say middle class, all middle class. Like we have really good tenants. There's not like we had some tenants that were maybe more problematic, but we sold those properties this year. So now we made sure with our new processes and stuff, we make sure like our tenants are better screened, and we're doing a lot better with that. We haven't had any issue in a while.
Okay, so I want to ask you this. All right, say, because you're smart, right? If we took all the properties from you guys, right? Like all the rental property, you had to start back over at square one. And you still had the knowledge you had, but you don't have none of the house. You got your house you live in, but none of the extra stuff. How would you go about, say a person wanted to cash flow for $5,000 a month. How would you, and you need to get to that within a year. How would you go about that? What would you do?
Well, that's tough because our strategy is a little bit more of a slow strategy, right? Because we're building, so it takes more time. And I still love my strategy. We've done a BRRRR before, and we didn't like it that much. So personally, I would just start all over again. I would just build again, but I would probably start with like, if I still had my home, my home is paid free and clear, so we use our home as our building
Right.
line of credit.
Credit, right.
So we would just use that and just build again and start with 4 units though. I'd probably just go straight to like a 4-plex. That way there's more cash flow.
Cash flow.
Yeah. Start from there.
Okay. I'll ask that because another guy, he asked a question on a podcast. He said, this guy evidently he's a millionaire. He make millions of dollars a year. But he said, if you had to make $1 million in 1 year and you lost everything, how could you do it? And the dude came back and basically he gave the answer and he said he'd do it in 6 months. So it was like, once you know how to do it, like, you know how to do it now. So there's nothing that can really stop you, you know?
Yeah, but we probably would do it a lot faster than we did now. That's for sure.
Right.
And we would know now to just hire straight out and not do everything yourself because that just drags everything on. So we could do it faster. I don't know. Hopefully we don't have to be at that point.
No. It's just a question because evidently we know so much more than we knew 7 years ago. So if you had to start over, I wonder, But I was gonna ask, all right. So we finishing up. These are the last 5 questions, for the podcast, and it's just rapid, quick answer. First thing that comes to your mind, all right?
Okay.
If you could spend a day with a person, anybody in the world that you feel like is a brilliant, great person, who would it be?
Brandon Turner.
What? Brandon Turner?
Yeah, I find that guy is smart and he's really fast to think on his feet, and I like listening to his podcast. I think he's interesting, so I'd love to sit down and chat with him.
Brandon Turner, you about to take over my podcast. He's the most popular answer. I'm like, you got Warren Buffett, you got Elon Musk.
Yeah, no, it's not. Probably my husband would say Elon Musk, but no, to me, it's just Brandon Turner. It's the only first thing that came to mind.
I'll tell you one thing I had encountered with Brandon Turner.
What's that?
All right. So when I was doing the podcast with Bigger Pockets, right?
Yeah.
We were recording just like this. Tell me why he's doing 3 different things while we're doing this. So in the middle of the podcast, well, not, you don't distract the podcast, but he's like, hey, David, you need new headphones. All right. He sent an email in the middle of the podcast, order David new headphones. Boom, boom. All right.
Oh my God.
Oh, wait, this guy trying to buy a house? All while multitasking. I'm like, oh, he's the real deal. Like, imagine me being here and then doing a contract on the computer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really cool. No, I like that guy. I don't know why. I just think he's smart and he's quick to think on his feet and he's interesting to talk to or to listen.
You know, like, if you got to order something, you probably wait till after the podcast, go on Amazon, order it. He did it right then and there, like, send it. But he don't order it. He sent somebody else to do it. But it was just funny that you got to just do it, you know?
His brain's always working, you can tell.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but that was kind of funny. I'm like, geez, I can just barely concentrate. All right. All right. One book besides The Rich Dad, Poor Dad that changed your life.
The book it's called what is it called? It's called The Secrets of the Real Estate. I forget the book. It's a Canadian book though, but it's definitely it can be like explained in the US too there. The Secrets of the Canadian Real Estate Market, that's what it is. So it basically helps you prepare for a market crash. Wow. And I read this like in December, so just before COVID struck, and like that basically changed our entire business. That's when we decided to sell properties that were like the cash flow wasn't worth our time. We sold properties, recycled the capital, and we basically solidified our portfolio and our business.
Right. Okay. So, all right, what's something you wish you knew? You know it now, but you wish you knew it maybe 7 years ago about life in general or business.
The first thing that comes to mind is the fear does not go away. So when you're scared of doing that initial deal, that first ever deal, to me, the fear doesn't go away. I'm still nervous when I make an offer on a property. Because now like you have more to lose. The more you grow, the more your portfolio gets bigger and you have more to lose. And like I said earlier, the more knowledge you have, the more you know of every little potential thing that could go wrong. So the fear doesn't go away, but you do know how to mitigate risk better. And you have to just, jump in and take those risks. So that's one thing that I wish I knew, because I felt like the fear would eventually go away, and it doesn't. I don't know if that's a good enough answer. It's just the first thing that came to mind. You
know what? I'm kind of mad because I was hoping the fear would go away eventually, but it doesn't. No. I'm like, all right, after this house, maybe I won't. But like you said, it seemed like it's like I was thinking about it today. Like you on a fast trajectory. On the other side of your head is like, if I'm going up that fast, it could
maybe I can go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like rather. Yeah, just cruise up to the top.
Yep.
All right, that's funny. And this kind of going to the next question. What do you do when you feel stressed?
I will go and take a walk with my dog in the woods. That's like the one thing I need to do every day for me, just to clear my head. I'll go jogging, or I'll just go take a walk, and like a 30-minute walk, and then come back and maybe have a glass of wine. But that's my first thing I do.
Okay. Yeah. I think, because right now, I think like stress, like even with all the COVID stuff going on, I think that can kill people too, on top of the sickness. Yeah. Worried about, bills or whatever. So I think, I got to the point, I used to stress out about not being in control of other people. So say, for instance, I'm helping you, say you're buying a house for me. And you decide, well, the grass too high, I don't want to buy it. And I would stress out because you changed your mind. You know what I mean? And it's like,
you can't control that. You gotta just learn to go with it.
Right.
But it's tough. That's a whole different mind shift.
Yeah. So at this point, it's like, I only can control me. Anybody else? Yeah. All right. So this last question. What is your version of the new American dream? The old American dream is, you stay working a job for 30, 40 years, and then you retire, you get your Social Security check, and you start traveling, I guess. What is your version of the new American dream again?
Well, mine's the new Canadian dream, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's the first. The new Canadian dream. All right, go ahead. You can start your own show.
Yeah, my Canadian dream is to be able to escape winters anytime I want because the winters here suck. So my Canadian dream is to just be able to, you know, work the hours I want and escape the winters and go to Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Florida. You might want to buy a vacation house down here now.
Where are you in Florida?
BRRR Beach is on the East Coast. It's probably it's a smaller city, but it's
Okay.
maybe like an hour from West Palm Beach or Orlando.
Cool.
Yeah, don't move here. Too many people moving here now.
Oh no, I wouldn't move. Going
Nah.
heat, it gets too cold here.
Yeah, no, a lot of people from California, like Miami and New York, they're moving here because the prices where they at are going up. And here it's still like a smaller city, but every day you can tell it's starting to grow.
Yeah, it's the same thing here though. I think like the population's growing everywhere too, right? And a lot of big cities are starting to spread out and empty out into the suburbs. So we're seeing a shift here too.
Right. Okay. That is it. Let the people know where they can find you at if they want to reach out to your blog or social media. How can they find you?
Easiest way to reach me is Instagram at the New Build Couple, and our website blog is the newbuildcouple.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Natalie. Thanks for coming on the show, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.